Hello, friends and neighbors. Let's talk about the gift of gratitude.
Welcome to A Word for Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Each Wednesday, you will find Boggs Family Ministries is here with our host, Davy Boggs. Having you along with us is a wonderful addition. Now, let's enjoy together A Word for Wednesday.
Thank you, Brother Devin, and thank you for joining us on A Word for Wednesday. It is always good to have you with us. Thank you so much. I want to talk about the gift of gratitude. Let me read first for you from 2 Timothy chapter 3, and as we know, this is a very detailed description of the last days. In the last days, perilous times shall come. And this section of verse I'm going to focus on has been preeminent in my mind since I was a teenager. Now, when this passage of scripture was preached to me as a boy, it was described as the time we were living in. Now, all these many years later, much more, we see clearly these things describe the times that we are living in. I'm not going to focus on all of them. There's not enough time in this short little episode to focus on more than one of them. Let me read this to you, verse 1 and 2. This know also, Paul tells Timothy, that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, thinking of nothing but themselves, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, and watch these last two, unthankful, unholy. In this list that gets even worse as it goes down through verse number 5 is a characteristic that doesn't even seem to equal these other things. They're boasters, they're proud, they think more about themselves than they think about anybody else. They're truce breakers. This describes violence and immorality in the cruelest form. And in that list is unthankful. People who have no attitude of gratitude. I guess you could say that is living for self. Why should I be thankful for your contribution to my life when I'm living for myself? It's all about me anyway. You doing something kind for me is what you ought to do. I expect you to do something kind for me. Oh, what selfishness. Unthankful, and nothing separating unthankful and unholy but a comma. Now, it's very possible that Paul is describing unholy as a characteristic of the last day. In fact, it's probable he's describing that unholy in another in the list of these things. But it is interesting to me that it follows close on the heels of unthankful. Unthankful, and then sliding into unholy. As I said to you, I was a teenager when that first grabbed my attention. Unthankful. As a kid, it's easy to be unthankful. Mom and dad provide for you. The school provides certain things for you. Friends do friendly things for you. Maybe your first job, people are kind to you. And we kind of take those things as a kid for granted. But we ought to grow up and realize we ought to be thankful for everything that has been done and is being done for us. Now, I'm certainly not going to claim perfection over the last 57 years in this area, but I have been striving for perfection in this area for well over 40 years. Perfection reached? Probably not, unfortunately, but perfection striving for? Yes, indeed. I want to be thankful. I don't want to expect people to always buy my meal. I don't want to expect people to always put money in my hand. I want to be the first one to grab the check, not to demonstrate that I have more money, but to demonstrate my thankfulness for all the other times that someone else has bought my meal. I don't want to be unthankful. I want to be thankful for the kindnesses that have been shown to me. It has been amazing through the years, people that have come alongside of Kelly and I. And it's not always things and stuff. It's the unfiltered access to their heart, the amazing knowledge that they've shared with us, the kindnesses that they've given unto us by giving us their time and talking to us about where they've been through, educating our little minds. We didn't know it, but that's so amazing how those things were appropriate where we were right then. Several years ago, I think the first year that I was pastor in Kansas, which was 25 years ago, rather than send Christmas cards, I told Kelly, I want to send Thanksgiving cards. And so I sat down on my computer. We either bought empty cards or we made empty cards, probably made them. And I typed out a message. I don't know how many cards it was, 35, 40, 50 cards to individuals all over America. My pastor, of course, one, other preachers that had been influential, our parents and other people probably in that list, and typed out to them particular and specific things that I was thankful for that they had contributed to our lives. Did it make a real big difference in our life? Not at the time. And I didn't receive a great big response. I wasn't looking for a response or a pat on the head, good boy, Davy. I wanted to be thankful. I wanted to show gratitude. I have found that gratitude, my gratitude to you and to others that have been good to me, is not a gift to you. I owe that to you. I owe you gratitude. I owe you a thank you card. I owe you a phone call. I owe you a text. I owe you a hug and a hearty handshake. I owe you my devotion. When you've been good to me, my gratitude to you is not a gift from me to you. My gratitude from me to you is a gift to me. When we are thankful, we are loading ourselves down with benefits from God. God loves a heart that is thankful. I believe He blesses people who are genuinely grateful. Last year, I received one of the greatest compliments I have ever received. It was by text after I had preached the first revival I'd ever preached in this church and for this pastor. And I don't remember the exact words of it, and it's not important anyway because he added other things to it as well. But he commented that my sincere gratitude toward his people was much appreciated and, if continued, would serve me well in the future. I'll tell you, one of the greatest compliments I have ever received. I want to have that gift of gratitude. I want to be genuinely thankful for kindnesses, and that is a gift to myself and to my family. While giving to others, it comes back, pressed down, shaken together, running over back into our lives. I found a true story, and then I went and researched this story quite a bit. in a Clarence Macartney book called The Forgotten Man, I think. I think it's in the first sermon in that book about the ungrateful butler in Joseph's life. And this story is partially about Ulysses S. Grant, a general in the Union Army and later the President of the United States. In 1854, before the war, Ulysses S. Grant arrived in New York after he had resigned from the Army under a cloud that they really didn't know the details, most likely because of his excessive alcohol use. He was forced to resign. He arrived in New York without any money to get on to his home. So he went to see a friend that he had went to West Point with and had also fought in the Mexican War with him. His name was Simon Bolivar Buckner. Buckner generously supplied Grant with the funds so he could reach home. 8 years later, General Ulysses S. Grant captured Fort Donelson down near the Kentucky-Tennessee state line in February of 1862. The generals in charge of Fort Donelson had fled the night before when it looked like they were going to lose and left in charge General Simon Bolivar Buckner. So these two friends meet on a crucial battlefield in the Civil War. And General Buckner sent a message to Grant and asked him to negotiate generous terms of surrender, hoping that Grant would have mercy on him because of his previous friendship with Grant, and probably thinking about the gift of money he had given to Grant. Grant, who believed in the cause of the Union, did not have mercy. In fact, he earned his nickname when he offered no negotiation, no terms, but immediate and unconditional surrender. That's what he became known as, Unconditional Surrender Grant. And this was the beginning of Grant's rise to power in the Union Army and of his fame. It was the first of 3 Confederate armies that Grant would capture, the final one, of course, being General Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia that would end the Civil War. And this surrender of this fort was a devastating blow and strategic defeat to the Confederacy. It opened up Nashville and a pathway to the South. And it was a personal humiliation to General Buckner. In a speech delivered years later at a birthday dinner in honor of Ulysses S. Grant, probably while he was president, Buckner told what happened at Fort Donelson. He said, "Under these circumstances, I surrendered the fort and the Confederate Army. I had at previous time befriended Grant, and it has been justly said that Grant never forgot an act of kindness. I met him on Grant's headquarters boat on the river, and he said that Grant was completely courteous to him throughout the surrender process in his normal, humble manner. Historians have said that Grant offered to loan money to Buckner so he could go home after his release from captivity, but that's not what General Buckner said. General Buckner said in his birthday speech that General Grant followed me to my quarters after the surrender. He left his officers of his own army and followed me with that modest manner peculiar to him into the shadows, and then he handed me his purse and everything in it." General Buckner said, "During the most humiliating moment of my life, General Grant remembered an act of kindness and offered his gratitude. Wow. What a gift. The gift of gratitude. That, my friend, is the description of a man. A man who shows his thankfulness, his gratitude. Hey, let's do that. Let's be people of gratitude to those around us. Call somebody, text somebody, send them a letter. I love written letters. I love writing letters. Send a letter to somebody. Thank them for something they've done for you. Maybe they don't remember it. Maybe they don't even have a clue. Tell them what they've done means to you. That's my word for Wednesday. Thank you. Looks like I've went a little over time this morning. I hope you've stayed with me. God bless you, and I'm going to do my best to see you next week.
That is our word for Wednesday. We are so glad that you've spent a few minutes with us today. If you've been touched by today's episode, please share it with your friends and family. We welcome your questions or comments below or by email. You can find the email address in the description, along with a link to Mile Markers, the website for Boggs Family Ministries. Also, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you again, and we hope to see you next Wednesday.
Ciao for now.